Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Tirthalion, your YouTube psychic, and we are on our next part of the series on tarot, the Witch's Tarot, I should say, the swords. Now, swords are the suit of, patterns of thinking, mentality. This is where you'll find the depression card, so on and so forth. So, we'll go ahead and get into the book, the book by Ellen Dugan, The Witch's Tarot. The illustrations on the cards and in the book are by Mark Evans. So, the swords are also associated with the element of air. If I didn't mention that before with the cups, that's water. Of course, cups equal water. Alright, so the book meaning for the Ace of Swords is the most potent and pure form of the masculine element of air. When the Ace of Swords flies into your life, you are being put on notice that it is time to take action. This card is a card of intellect, heroism, victory, justice, achievement, new beginnings, and winning battles. Another of this card's most important lessons is that now you have the chance for a new way of thinking. Cut through the fantasy and embrace what is. The truth hurts, but sometimes it can also heal and make room for a new, improved reality. Success is attainable. Victory is near. Go grab a hold of it with both hands. Now the next card, this is the Two of Swords, and this one is when this card turns up in a reading, it is a warning that you have blocked off your heart and emotions and are holding in your feelings. You are literally refusing to see what is right in front of you. Your heart says one thing, while logic says another. The water in this card represents your emotions and the repression of them. Just as the woman has turned her back on her feelings, you need to be aware that you are blocked and have closed yourself off. You may think you have balance, but there is no resolution. Take a careful look at both sides of the situation. Consider your options. Boundaries are a positive thing, but do not shut yourself off from others. Be like the water and the swords in this card. Stay calm and reflect like the water while you work through this. And be balanced like the swords as you work for equilibrium and understanding. Now the Three of Swords. This one generally means the same thing in most decks, and that's heartbreak and or sorrow. So, what the book says, when the Three of Cards is dealt in a reading, it causes a visceral reaction. This is a brutally tough card. There is no polite or soft way to put it. When the Three of Swords turns up in a reading, it is like a sucker punch to the stomach. It hurts. This card, more than any others, illustrates the pain and loss that the querent is experiencing at this time. What you need to understand is that you will have to take the pain into your heart, accept it, shed your tears, and then move beyond it. Once you have accepted the pain and experienced the grief, then and only then can you move forward. This card may also stand for a delay to a project and plans, or the painful karmic repercussions that are experienced when a manipulative spell backfires on the caster. Now the Four of Swords. In most decks, this one generally represents depression, sadness, internalized negative thinking. So the book says, when the Four of Swords is dealt in a reading, it is a sign that you need to take some personal downtime, a retreat or a day off so you can recoup lost energy and find your strength again. The querent may be feeling overwhelmed by demands and stress. They may feel the need to get away and to withdraw from the hectic and daily grind of life. This card symbolizes that you need to allow yourself time to recover from an illness. It may also represent a need to step away from group magic for a bit. You may need to practice, solitarily for a time. You will find the solutions to your magical problems quietly and on your own. The Five of Swords. This one is usually conflict. Now, what the book says. When the Five of Swords appears in a reading, it is a signal that the querent is feeling humiliated and embarrassed. This is only a partial defeat, and they are still in control. Don't give up. Shift things around and look for more possibilities. Allow the element of air to bring some fresh air and a new perspective into your life. Heed the message of the dragonfly and see through the illusions of others. Transform your life into something bright and wonderful. Right, and the next card is the Six of Swords. Traditionally, when the Six of Swords sails into a reading, it means travel over water. Today, it shows movement and progress of any kind. The querent may be planning a trip for pleasure or business. This card signifies that it is a good time for movement, change, and the experience that travel brings. Expect forward movement, improvement to the current situation, a new job, moving to a new home, and of course travel for pleasure. Enjoy the journey. There is smooth sailing ahead. Now the Seven of Swords. When the Seven of Swords card blows into a reading, it is a nudge to come up with some new schemes and or tactics. It is time to be clever and creative. This card denotes a smart, resourceful person, one who avoids or evades confrontation. By doing so, he shrewdly takes the wind out of his opponent's sails. Look at things from a new perspective. Come up with a new solution to the same old problems. Think outside the box, and you will experience a victory and a breakthrough. Now the Eight of Swords. When this card turns up in a reading, it speaks of restriction and of feeling trapped and sad at the moment. However, if the individual would stop overreacting and feeling sorry for themselves and would pull off that emotional blinder, they would see a way out. Things are not as bad as they may appear. Happiness is possible. The sun is breaking through and new opportunities can emerge. This card may also represent a witch who is fearful of ritual or of their own intuition. Think of the classic challenge given to most blindfolded initiates. It is better to rush upon this blade than to enter this circle with fear in your heart. How do you enter? They have to answer without fear, or they are denied entrance into the coven. What can you learn from this card? Look again at the description and symbolism and find your answers. Fear has no place in the craft. Now the Nine of Swords. This is the Oh Woe Is Me, or the Drama Queen card as I call it. And here we go. This is the Drama Queen card. When it turns up in a reading, it symbolizes a person who is always having a crisis or causing drama in coven dynamics or social situations. They may be an emotional or psychic vampire, or they themselves could be the willing victim of such an attack. As this is a 9 of the suit, it also symbolizes that you are near the end of the problem. Things that have reached their peak and should begin to settle down, as long as you don't give way to dramatics. Decide to pick up the sword and be proactive to defend yourself and your personal energies. Furthermore, this card can represent the karmic repercussions of poor judgment or backlash from a manipulative magical act. I think of this card as a perfect illustration of baneful magic that has returned to its sender times 3. The Ten of Swords, commonly known as betrayal. When the Ten of Swords rolls into a reading, you have to ask yourself, why did you not listen to your own instincts? This card is a vivid illustration of being stabbed in the back, as I said. This shows betrayal from a loved one, friend, or coven member. This is what happens when you ignore your inner voice and gut hunches that something is wrong. By ignoring the warning signs and not paying heed to your own instincts that trouble was brewing, you have paid the price. This card can also symbolize being involved with a toxic group of people, such as in a job environment or even in a coven where you are not cherished, but instead made to feel like an outsider. If your instincts are warning you that you don't belong, then you need to be wise like the owl and fly away from the group and all of their negativity. This is the Page of Swords. When this card lands in a reading, it means that you need to think quickly and act decisively, but keep your temper in check. You need to remain vigilant and to be on guard for trouble or conflict. But you should use your wit and not brute force. You do have the ability to quickly put an end to nonsense and petty arguments with either quick actions or a few well-chosen words. This card may physically represent an intense, impulsive, and active young person with brown hair and green or hazel eyes. The hawk symbolizes messages, and when it appears in your life, it is always a sign from the deity to pay attention to what is going on around you. If you hear that, I do apologize. I am in my kitchen and the dishwasher is running. The message of the Page of Swords is that caution, cleverness, and tact are needed at this time. Try for tact before you take a swipe at your opponent. The Knight of Swords. If we had to sum up this court card in 2 words, they would be no fear. When this card comes roaring into a reading, expect excitement, movement, and adventure. There is a need for action, and it is time for you to dive in and be the hero. This court card represents a passionate and exciting young man with brown hair and gray or hazel eyes. This is an individual who is clever and capable in a crisis. He is shrewd and dynamic, and possesses a razor-sharp wit. He may be a bit arrogant, but it is all part of his charm. This is the card of the soldier and the warrior. The Knight of Swords will roar into your life, bringing exploration, communication, new ideas, and change. The challenge from the Knight of Swords is to stand up for yourself and your beliefs. Rapid movement and transformation is blowing your way. Hang on and enjoy the ride. Now, the Queen of Swords is very long, so do bear with me. Excuse me. The Queen of Swords is a brown-haired woman with fair to hazel eyes. She is clever and ingenious, with a dry wit and razor tongue. When this card breezes into a reading, it can herald a time when you need to pay attention to your own instincts and intuition. New ideas are blowing in. It may be time to try something new. This card classically represents an air-signed woman who is career-oriented, honest, focused, and successful in whatever she sets out to do. She may be sarcastic at times, but she is very smart, blunt, and determined. She will rule her home and family with the same ruthless organization she applies to her career. Her communication skills are top-notch. She may be a scholar, a writer, or a speaker. Though men are attracted to her for her looks, they tend to back off when they discover how smart and honest this queen is. She has no time for falsehood or ignorance. The Queen of Swords may represent a woman who is slow to trust others, especially in relationships, and a woman who may prefer to stand on her own. This queen will listen to her head first and logically consider her options before she trusts her heart. The message from the Queen of Swords is this: assert your independence, stand up for yourself, follow your intuition, and try something new. Now, the King of Swords. And this one is as well a long one. Pardon me. The King of Swords is an authority figure. When this card soars into a reading, you need to be aware that your actions may be called into question. This is the card for rulers, leaders, and the wielders of justice. The King of Swords has links to the Emperor and Justice cards. The King of Swords concerns himself with matters of right and wrong, and also personal integrity and honor. This card quietly calls into question the wisdom of your personal choices, and he also announces that it is time to turn your knowledge into action. This man sees the world in black and white. There are no shades of gray for him. He is successful, clever, reserved, and a tad intellectual. He has a good head for business and may be a member of the armed forces, a security guard, a detective, or a police officer. The King of Swords also represents a mature man with brown hair and dark eyes, who believes his integrity above all else. He relies heavily on his common sense and believes in only what can be proven. Like the best kings of old, he is a wise and fair leader who sits in judgment, because he must, and who is ready to defend his kingdom should the situation deem it necessary. The lesson of the King of Swords is to turn your knowledge into action while remaining fair and just. Now, that is our final sword card, and just want to tell you that, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. Which of these cards is your favorite? Are you a fan of the swords? Please leave your comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Again, I am Tirthalion, your YouTube psychic. Please feel free to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to click the bell icon to so that you're notified whenever I upload a video. Thanks, and have a wonderful day.